What would you do if your husband handed you divorce papers in front of your entire family? Can one complicated secret really destroy everything, even when you believe you're the victim? The answer landed on my doorstep with a lawyer's letter and a room full of shocked faces. The kitchen felt smaller than usual as I watched Nathan stare at his phone screen, his jaw tight with that familiar expression I'd grown to hate. The morning light streaming through our suburban townhouse windows cast harsh shadows across his face, making him look older than his 36 years. "Evadne, we need to talk," Nathan said, setting his coffee mug down with deliberate precision. Everything Nathan did was precise, methodical, suffocating. I kept my back to him, focusing on packing Maya's lunch for school. Our 7-year-old daughter was upstairs getting dressed, blissfully unaware of the tension that had been building between us for weeks. "I'm busy getting Maya ready," I replied, shoving a juice box into her lunchbox harder than necessary. "Can't this wait? Your work schedule has been inconsistent lately." His voice carried that calm, analytical tone he used when troubleshooting computer problems at his IT job. "You said you worked late Tuesday night, but your timesheet shows you clocked out at 5:30. My stomach clenched, but I forced myself to laugh. "Are you seriously checking up on me now? That's incredibly paranoid, Nathan. Maybe I forgot to update my timesheet. Maybe I stayed late but forgot to clock it. God, you're acting like some jealous, controlling husband." "I'm just trying to understand." "Understand what?" I spun around to face him, letting righteous indignation fuel my words. "That your wife works hard to contribute to this household. That sometimes administrative work requires staying late to catch up on filing and phone calls." Nathan's dark eyes studied my face with that infuriating calm. "I called your office Tuesday at 7. No one answered. Because I was probably in the supply room or the bathroom. Jesus, Nathan, do you hear yourself right now? This is creepy behavior. My phone is private, my work is private, and I shouldn't have to account for every single minute of my day like I'm some kind of prisoner." The sound of footsteps on the stairs interrupted us. Maya appeared in the doorway, her blonde hair still messy from sleep, clutching her stuffed elephant. "Why are you and Daddy talking so loud?" she asked, her voice small and uncertain. "We're just discussing work stuff, sweetheart," I said quickly, kneeling down to smooth her hair. "Nothing for you to worry about." Nathan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something flickered across his face. Not anger, but something colder, more determined. "Maya, go brush your teeth. We'll leave for school in 10 minutes, he said gently. After Maya disappeared upstairs again, Nathan turned back to me. "My mother called this morning. She wants to have brunch at the Willow on Saturday. Family meeting," she said. "Great," I muttered. Another opportunity for Denise to criticize everything I do. "Maybe if you gave her less to criticize," Nathan said quietly. The words hung in the air like a slap. Before I could respond, he walked out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with my racing heart and the growing certainty that my carefully constructed world was starting to crack. That evening, after Maya was asleep, I sat in our bedroom scrolling through my phone. Nathan was in his home office, probably analyzing network security or whatever boring technical stuff consumed his evenings. I opened my text messages and found the thread I'd been avoiding all day. "Liam, had fun at Rosario's Tuesday. When can we do it again?" I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the keyboard. Liam Forster worked for one of our office supply vendors, and what had started as friendly professional conversations had gradually become something more. Something I told myself wasn't really an affair because we hadn't crossed certain lines. It was complicated. Me, can't talk about this over text. Too risky. Liam, your husband's still being suspicious. Me, he found out about Tuesday somehow. I think he's tracking my movements. Liam, maybe we should cool it for a while. The suggestion sent a spike of panic through me. Liam was the only person who understood how suffocating my marriage had become. He listened when I talked about Nathan's controlling behavior. his cold, analytical nature, the way he made me feel like a specimen under a microscope. Me. Don't let him win. I refuse to let Nathan's paranoia control my friendships. Liam, is that what we're calling it? I stared at the message for a long time before closing the app without responding. Through the thin walls of our townhouse, I could hear Nathan typing on his keyboard, methodical and relentless as always. The next morning, Nathan was unusually quiet during breakfast. He helped Maya with her backpack and kissed her goodbye with the same gentle patience he'd always shown our daughter, but he barely looked at me. "I'll pick up Maya after school today," he said, adjusting his tie. "I'm leaving work early." "Why?" "I always pick her up on Wednesdays." "I have some errands to run. Banking stuff." Something in his tone made me uneasy, but I couldn't put my finger on what. Nathan grabbed his laptop bag and headed for the door, then paused. "Oh, and Evadne, I found something interesting in our bank statements last night." My blood went cold. "What kind of something?" "A charge from Rosario's Italian restaurant. Tuesday night, 7:45 p.m. Funny thing is, that's the same night you said you were working late, filing purchase orders and updating vendor contacts." The room seemed to tilt sideways. Rosario's was where Liam had taken me for dinner, where we'd shared wine and talked about everything except the growing attraction between us, where I'd let him pay because I'd claimed I'd forgotten my wallet. I can explain that," I stammered. "I'm sure you can." Nathan's voice was perfectly calm, which somehow made it more terrifying than if he'd been shouting. "We'll talk about it at brunch on Saturday, in front of everyone." He left me standing in the kitchen, my hands shaking as I tried to figure out how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. The Willow Cafe buzzed with the usual Saturday morning crowd, but our corner table felt like an island of tension in a sea of cheerful brunches. I'd spent the entire morning getting ready, choosing my outfit carefully, a soft blue sweater that brought out my eyes, jeans that made me look approachable and innocent. If Nathan wanted to have this conversation in public, I'd make sure everyone saw who the real victim was. Maya sat between Nathan and me, coloring in her activity book and occasionally stealing sips of my orange juice. Across from us, Nathan's mother Denise watched me with those sharp grey eyes that missed nothing. She'd never liked me, not since the day Nathan brought me home 8 years ago. His brother Eric sat beside her, checking his phone with the same methodical attention to detail that ran in their family. My mother Harriet had claimed the seat next to me, her perfectly styled silver hair catching the morning light as she buttered her croissant. My younger sister Lila rounded out our uncomfortable family gathering, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. "So," Denise said, setting down her coffee cup with a decisive clink, "Nathan said there were some things we needed to discuss as a family." I forced a bright smile. "I'm not sure why we need a family meeting to discuss Nathan's trust issues, but here we are." "Trust issues?" Harriet immediately jumped to my defense. "What's this about, Nathan? Evadne works incredibly hard. She's always stayed late at the office, helping with inventory and vendor relations. Maybe you should be more supportive instead of questioning everything she does." I felt a surge of gratitude toward my mother. At least someone understood what I was dealing with. Nathan pulled out his phone and placed it on the table. "I'm questioning things because they don't add up. Evadne told me she worked late Tuesday night, but I have evidence that she was at Rosario's Italian restaurant at 7:45 p.m. The table went quiet. Maya looked up from her coloring book, sensing the shift in atmosphere. I laughed, hoping it sounded natural. "Nathan, you're being ridiculous. I grabbed a quick bite after work before coming home. I was starving, and I knew you'd already fed Maya. It's not a crime to eat dinner." "Alone?" Eric asked quietly. "Of course alone. Where is this coming from? I can't even eat at a restaurant without my husband tracking my every movement like some kind of detective. It's honestly creepy behavior." Lila shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "Evadne, maybe you could have mentioned it to Nathan. You know, just to avoid confusion." "I shouldn't have to report every meal I eat," I said, letting my voice rise slightly. This is what I'm talking about. Nathan follows me around like a detective, questions everything I do, makes me feel like I'm walking on eggshells in my own home. It's emotionally exhausting. Denise's eyes narrowed. Following you around, Nathan works 60 hours a week and coaches Maya's soccer team on weekends. When exactly is he following you around? He checks my timesheets, calls my office when I'm working late, questions every expense. Tell me that's not controlling behavior. Harriet reached over and squeezed my hand. Honey, you don't need to justify yourself. Nathan, this kind of surveillance isn't healthy for a marriage. Evadne deserves privacy and trust. I could see Nathan's jaw tighten, but his voice remained calm. I called her office at 7 p.m. Tuesday because Maya wanted to say goodnight. No one answered. Then I found the restaurant charge on our joint credit card. So I used the credit card for dinner. It's my card, too. The charge was for 2 meals, Evadne. 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, 1 dessert shared. The words hit the table like a physical blow. I felt everyone's eyes on me, and for a moment my carefully constructed explanation crumbled. But then I saw Maya watching us with wide, confused eyes, and I found my strength again. Fine, I said, crossing my arms. I met a friend for dinner, a colleague from work. We discussed a big supply order coming in next month. It was a business dinner, Nathan. I didn't mention it because I knew you'd react exactly like this, with suspicion and accusations. What colleague? Denise asked sharply. Liam Forster. He works for Pinnacle Office Solutions. We've been coordinating a major purchase order for new furniture and equipment. Eric looked up from his phone. Nathan, do you want me to help you look into any of this? I mean, if there are questions about work expenses or business dinners. The offer hung in the air like a threat. I could see Nathan considering it, weighing his options with that analytical mind of his. That won't be necessary, I said quickly, because there's nothing to look into. I had a business dinner with a vendor representative. End of story. Then why didn't you just say that from the beginning? Lila asked quietly. Because I shouldn't have to justify every professional relationship I have. Because Nathan has turned into the kind of husband who makes his wife feel guilty for having male colleagues. Because this whole conversation is humiliating and inappropriate. Maya had stopped coloring entirely and was now staring at her activity book with tears in her eyes. The sight of our daughter's distress gave me the ammunition I needed. Look what you've done, I said to Nathan. You've upset Maya with your paranoid accusations. Is this really the kind of father you want to be? The kind of husband? Nathan's composure finally cracked slightly. He reached over and gently touched Maya's hand. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Mommy and Daddy are just having a grown-up discussion. Everything's okay. It doesn't sound okay, Maya whispered. Harriet stood up abruptly. I think we've heard enough. Nathan, you owe my daughter an apology. This public interrogation is completely inappropriate. Actually, Eric said, still looking at his phone, I think Nathan is being remarkably patient. If my wife was having mysterious business dinners and couldn't keep her story straight about working late, I'd have a lot more questions. Questions like what? I challenged. Eric looked up and met my eyes directly. Like whether there are other business dinners you haven't mentioned, other late nights that don't match your timesheets, other colleagues who might be more than colleagues. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. I could feel my face burning with indignation and something else, fear. How dare you? I said, standing up so quickly my chair scraped against the floor. I don't have to sit here and listen to these insulting implications. Evadne, sit down, Nathan said quietly. We're not done talking. Yes, we are. I'm going home. Maya, come on, sweetheart. Maya stays with me, Nathan said, his voice still calm, but with an edge of steel I'd never heard before. We came in my car, and I'm not finished with brunch yet. The power play was subtle but unmistakable. Nathan was asserting control, showing everyone at the table that he wasn't the pushover they might have thought. Fine, I said, grabbing my purse. But this conversation is over. I won't be interrogated like a criminal because I had a business dinner. As I walked away from the table, I heard Eric say quietly, "Nathan, if you need help with anything at all, just call me." The words followed me out of the restaurant like a warning. Monday evening found me sitting in my car in the empty parking lot of our office building, waiting for Liam to finish a client call inside. The weekend had been a nightmare of tense silences and careful conversations around Maya, with Nathan watching my every move like a hawk circling prey. My phone buzzed with a text from Lila. "Evie, I'm worried about you. Can we talk?" I deleted the message without responding. My sister had been sending increasingly concerned texts since Saturday's disastrous brunch, and I couldn't deal with more family drama right now. The office building's front door opened, and Liam walked out, carrying his laptop bag and a stack of vendor catalogs. At 34, he had the kind of easy confidence that Nathan lacked. Broad shoulders, a quick smile, and the ability to make me feel interesting and desirable instead of analyzed and judged. "Sorry to keep you waiting," he said, sliding into the passenger seat of my Honda. "That call ran longer than expected." "It's fine. I needed time to think anyway." Liam studied my face in the dim light from the parking lot security lamps. "You look stressed. How bad was the family meeting?" Nathan basically accused me of lying about Tuesday night, in front of everyone. His brother offered to help him look into things, whatever that means. Shit. What did you tell them? The truth, that we had a business dinner to discuss the upcoming supply order. That Nathan is being paranoid and controlling. Liam was quiet for a moment, drumming his fingers on the dashboard. "Maybe we should take a break from seeing each other, just until things cool down at home." The suggestion hit me like a physical blow. "You're going to let him win?" "It's not about winning, Evadne. It's about being practical. If your husband is suspicious—" "My husband is emotionally abusive," I interrupted. "He monitors my work schedule, tracks my spending, questions every friendship I have. Now he wants to isolate me from professional relationships too. If I stop seeing you, I'm basically admitting he was right to be suspicious. Were we just having a professional relationship?" The question hung between us like a challenge. I thought about all the text messages we'd exchanged over the past 2 months, the way our conversations had gradually shifted from office supplies to personal topics, the electricity I felt when he touched my hand across the dinner table at Rosario's. "It's complicated," I said finally. "That's not really an answer." "It's the only answer I can give right now. Look, Nathan has made me feel like a prisoner in my own marriage. He's cold, analytical, controlling. You're the first person in years who's made me feel like myself again. I'm not going to let his paranoia destroy that." Liam reached over and took my hand. "I care about you, Evadne, but I don't want to be the reason your marriage falls apart. You're not the reason. Nathan is. He's been pushing me away for years with his suspicious nature and his need to control everything. You're the first good thing that's happened to me in a long time. What do you want from me?" The question was loaded with possibility and danger. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to feel desired and appreciated instead of scrutinized and judged. I wanted someone who listened to my problems instead of analyzing them like technical glitches to be fixed. "I want you to not abandon me because my husband is having a jealous fit. I want you to trust that I can handle my own marriage. And I want you to keep being the friend I need right now." Liam squeezed my hand. "Just friends?" "It's complicated," I repeated. He leaned closer, and for a moment I thought he might kiss me. Instead, he brushed a strand of hair away from my face. "Your husband texted me today," he said quietly. My blood went cold. "What?" "He got my number from your office directory, asked if I wanted to meet for coffee to discuss our business relationship with you." "What did you tell him?" I didn't respond. "But Evadne, this is escalating. Maybe you should consider couples counseling or—" "I'm not going to counseling with someone who thinks tracking his wife's every movement is normal behavior. And I'm definitely not going to let him intimidate my friends and colleagues." My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. I know you're with him right now. Care to explain? I stared at the message, my hands shaking slightly. He's tracking my phone somehow. Jesus, Evadne, this is getting scary. It's getting pathetic, I corrected. But I'm not going to be bullied into cutting off friendships because my husband can't handle his own insecurity. I typed back quickly. Having a work meeting. We'll be home soon. Nathan's response came immediately. At 8 p.m. in an empty parking lot, try again. He's watching us, Liam said, looking around the parking lot nervously. Let him watch. I'm not doing anything wrong. But even as I said it, I knew how this looked. Two people alone in a car after hours, holding hands, having intimate conversations about my marriage. It looked exactly like what Nathan suspected it was. I should go, Liam said, but he didn't move to get out of the car. Don't, please. If you leave now, you're basically confirming his suspicions. Aren't we confirming his suspicions by staying? The question hung in the air unanswered. My phone buzzed again. Nathan, I have screenshots of your text messages with him. We need to talk, now. This time my hands didn't just shake. They trembled so violently I almost dropped the phone. He has our texts, I whispered. Liam went pale. How is that possible? I don't know. Maybe he installed some kind of spying software on my phone. Maybe he's been monitoring everything. What did we say in those texts? I tried to remember. There had been dozens of messages over the past few weeks. Some about work, but others about my marriage, my feelings, my growing attraction to him. Nothing explicitly sexual, but definitely nothing that could be explained away as purely professional. We need to get our stories straight, I said. Our stories? Evadne, maybe it's time to just tell the truth. The truth is that we're friends. The truth is that Nathan is a controlling husband who can't handle his wife having male friends. The truth is that he's violated my privacy by spying on my phone. Is that really the truth? I looked at Liam, his concerned eyes, his gentle smile, the way he made me feel alive again after years of feeling like Nathan's administrative assistant instead of his wife. It's complicated, I said for the third time, but as I drove home 20 minutes later, leaving Liam in the parking lot with promises to text him when it was safe, I knew that complicated was no longer going to be enough. Nathan was waiting for me in the kitchen, his laptop open on the counter and a folder full of papers beside it. Maya was nowhere to be seen, probably already in bed, safe from whatever storm was about to break. We need to talk, he said without looking up from his screen. If you've been spying on my phone, then you already know everything you think you need to know. I know you've been lying to me for weeks. I know you've been meeting with Liam Forster under the pretense of work meetings. I know you've been sharing intimate details about our marriage with another man. Intimate details? Nathan, I told a friend that my husband has trust issues. That's hardly intimate. Nathan turned his laptop around so I could see the screen. It was full of screenshots, our text conversations, timestamps, even some messages I'd forgotten sending. Nathan doesn't understand me the way you do, he read aloud. I feel so alone in this marriage. You make me remember who I used to be before I became just a wife and mother. Should I keep reading? Each quoted message felt like a slap. Taken out of context, they sounded much worse than they had felt when I was typing them. Those are private conversations between friends, I said weakly. Friends don't usually end their conversations with heart emojis and can't wait to see you again. You're taking everything out of context. Nathan closed the laptop and looked at me directly for the first time since I'd walked in. Then give me the context, Evadne. Help me understand why my wife is having secret meetings with another man and telling him things she won't tell her own husband. The request sounded reasonable, which somehow made it more infuriating. The context is that you've become impossible to talk to. You analyze everything I say like it's a problem to be solved, instead of just listening. You question my every move, track my spending, monitor my schedule. Liam listens to me without making me feel like I'm being interrogated. So this is my fault. I didn't say that. You just said I drove you to seek emotional intimacy with another man because I'm impossible to talk to. That's not what I said, but it was exactly what I'd said, and we both knew it. Nathan picked up the folder and opened it. I've made copies of everything: the text messages, the credit card statements, your altered timesheets, the security footage from your office building showing you and Liam leaving together after hours. Security footage. I asked Eric to help me look into things, remember? He has contacts in private security. The room seemed to spin slightly. You had me investigated by a private detective? I had my brother ask a friend to pull some publicly available information because my wife was lying to me, and I needed to know why. This is insane, Nathan. You're acting like I committed some kind of crime. Did you? The simple question hung between us like a loaded gun. I haven't done anything wrong, I said finally. That's not what I asked. Before I could respond, Nathan's phone rang. He glanced at it and answered immediately. Hello, Mr. Peterson. Yes, I can meet tomorrow morning. 10 o'clock works fine. Thank you. He hung up and looked at me with something that might have been